Jesus sees every problem you carry, even the ones you hide behind your smile and the ones you cannot explain in words, and he understands them more deeply than anyone else ever could, because he looks not only at your situation but also into your heart. When he looks at you, he does not see a failure, a disappointment, or a lost cause. He sees someone created with purpose, someone worth loving, someone worth saving, and someone whose story is not finished yet. And that truth alone has the power to change how you face every struggle, because problems often whisper lies, telling you that you are alone, forgotten, weak, or defeated. But Jesus speaks truth stronger than those whispers, reminding you that you are never abandoned, never unseen, never worthless, and never beyond hope, even when your circumstances try to convince you otherwise. He taught people that difficulties are not signs that God has left, but often signs that God is working in ways that cannot yet be seen. Just as seeds grow underground long before they break through the soil, your breakthrough can be forming in silence while you think nothing is happening. Jesus never promised that life would be easy, but he promised that he would be present, and his presence is greater than any solution, because a solution can fix a moment, but his presence gives strength for a lifetime. He walked among people who were sick, rejected, poor, anxious, and broken, and instead of avoiding them, he moved toward them, showing that God is not afraid of human pain. He is drawn to it like light rushing into darkness. And wherever he stepped, hope began to rise, not always because circumstances changed instantly, but because hearts changed, and once a heart changes, everything begins to change slowly from the inside out. Jesus understood that the heaviest battles people fight are often invisible, the silent fears, the private regrets, the hidden grief, the questions that keep them awake at night, and that is why he spoke words of peace so often, because he knew how loud fear can be inside a human mind. He would say, "Do not be afraid," not as a command meant to shame, but as an invitation meant to comfort, because he knew fear loses power when faith enters, and faith grows when people remember who God is. He reminded them that worry cannot add a single hour to life, but trust can fill every hour with strength and meaning. He told them to look at the birds and flowers to see how God cares for creation, proving that if God pays attention to small details, he surely pays attention to human lives. And that means your problems matter to him, your tears matter to him, your questions matter to him, and your future matters to him. Even when others overlook you, heaven does not. Even when you feel forgotten, God remembers. Jesus showed through his own life that obedience and hardship can walk together, because he followed God perfectly and still faced opposition, misunderstanding, and suffering. Yet none of those things stopped God's plan. Instead, they became part of it, proving that what looks like a setback can actually be a setup for something greater. Many people believe that peace comes from having no problems, but Jesus showed that real peace comes from knowing God even in the middle of problems, because circumstances can change quickly, but God's presence remains steady, like a rock that cannot be shaken. He told a story about two builders, one built on sand and the other on rock. When storms came, the house on sand fell, while the house on rock stood firm. Through that picture, he revealed a powerful truth. Storms are not optional in life. They come to everyone, but collapse is optional, because lives built on God can stand no matter how fierce the storm becomes. Problems, therefore, are not just obstacles. They are tests revealing what foundation you are standing on. And if cracks appear, that does not mean you are finished. It means you are being invited to rebuild stronger with God as your base. Jesus never rejected people for struggling. He welcomed them, because struggle often opens hearts that comfort keeps closed. Many who came to him came because they were desperate, and desperation became the doorway to transformation, because when human strength runs out, divine strength becomes visible. He told people that those who are weary and burdened can come to him and find rest, not because he removes every responsibility, but because he shares the weight, giving souls relief even when life remains demanding. He knew that people often measure themselves by success, status, or approval, yet those things can vanish overnight, and when they do, identity collapses if it was built only on them. So he offered a better identity, one rooted in God's love, which cannot be taken away by failure, criticism, loss, or change. That means your value does not rise and fall with your circumstances. Your worth is constant because it comes from the one who created you. Problems may change your situation, but they cannot change your value unless you let them define you. Jesus invites you not to be defined by pain, but to be refined by it, because fire does not destroy gold, it purifies it. Trials do not have to destroy faith, they can strengthen it when you hold onto God through them. He showed that miracles often begin with impossibilities, that healing often begins with brokenness, and that victory often begins with surrender, because God's power shines brightest where human ability ends. Many people asked him for immediate solutions, and sometimes he gave them. Yet other times, he first changed their perspective, because a changed perspective can turn a prison into a classroom and a trial into training. Jesus knew that life's greatest victories are not always visible on the outside. Sometimes the greatest miracle is a heart that keeps trusting God even after disappointment, a spirit that keeps loving even after hurt, and a mind that keeps hoping even after delay. He taught that forgiveness is stronger than revenge, humility stronger than pride, patience stronger than anger, and love stronger than hate, because those qualities come from God himself, and nothing is stronger than him. When Jesus faced the cross, he faced the greatest problem anyone could imagine: pain, injustice, betrayal, and death all at once. Yet he did not run from it, because he knew that beyond the suffering was a purpose greater than the suffering, and that truth still speaks today. Your pain may have a purpose you cannot yet see, your delay may be preparing something you cannot yet imagine, and your struggle may be shaping strength you will soon need. He showed that darkness can never overcome light. It can only exist where light is absent, and when his light enters a life, darkness must leave, no matter how long it has been there. He proved that endings are not always endings. Sometimes they are beginnings in disguise, just as the cross looked like defeat but became the doorway to victory, and the tomb looked like closure but became the place where hope rose again. That means your hardest chapter does not have authority to decide your final outcome. God does. Jesus understands every emotion you feel, because he lived as a human. He knew hunger, exhaustion, sorrow, and grief. He wept with those who mourned and rejoiced with those who rejoiced, showing that God is not distant from human experience but deeply involved in it. That means when you cry, you are not crying alone. When you struggle, you are not struggling alone. When you feel weak, you are not weak alone, because he is with you in every moment, offering strength that does not run out, wisdom that does not fail, and love that does not fade. Problems often shout, but his voice is steady. Problems often rush, but his timing is perfect. Problems often confuse, but his truth is clear. He reminds you that faith does not mean understanding everything. It means trusting him even when you do not. He teaches that patience is not punishment, it is preparation, and that waiting is not wasted when it is done with God, because while you wait, he works. While you trust, he builds. While you hope, he prepares doors you cannot yet see. Jesus wants every troubled heart to know that despair is never the final answer, because hope always exists wherever God exists, and God exists everywhere. He calls you to bring every worry, every fear, every regret, and every question to him, not because he needs information, but because you need peace, and peace grows where trust lives. He assures you that mountains can move, chains can break, storms can calm, and hearts can heal, because nothing is impossible for God and nothing is too broken for him to restore. Even when people give up on you, he does not. Even when you give up on yourself, he does not, because his faithfulness is not based on your perfection. It is based on his love, and his love does not change with your mood, your success, or your past. He stands beside you in silence when words fail, strengthens you quietly when you feel weak, guides you gently when you feel lost, and lifts you patiently when you fall again and again. Never tiring, never quitting, never turning away. Jesus wants you to see your problems through heaven's perspective, not as walls, but as doors, not as chains, but as chisels shaping you, not as endings, but as turning points leading you toward growth, wisdom, and deeper faith. Sometimes the greatest blessing God can give is not removing the storm, but walking with you through it, so that when you reach the other side, you are stronger, wiser, humbler, and closer to him than ever before. One day you will look back and realize that the battles you feared most were the very places where God proved himself faithful. The nights you thought would break you were the nights that built you, and the problems you wished away were the ones that taught you truths you could learn no other way. So do not lose heart. Do not surrender to despair. Do not believe the lie that your situation defines you, because it does not. God defines you, and he says you are loved, chosen, seen, and never alone. That truth is stronger than every fear, louder than every doubt, brighter than every darkness, and greater than every problem you will ever face, because his power has no limit, his wisdom has no flaw, his timing has no error, and his love has no end. And if you hold on to him through every trial, you will discover that problems may shake your world, but they can never shake your soul when your soul is held in his hands, and those hands have never lost anyone who trusted them, and they never will.